Still fits. How about that? So, oh, now that I've done my prestige Latvian silent animated film, time to dive back into the big budget temples. Yes, folks, earlier today I saw Captain America Brave New World, the final film in Phase 5 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and while it may not be my favorite installment of the franchise by any means I definitely still think it's like a solid end to this latest phase of the franchise as I'm about to get into coming attractions. Phase 6 is going to be kicking off this summer. Her, her meeting will also be the first time it actually led off the season in almost 2 years, man. So, let's begin. Picking up where the streamy event and Falcon was sort of left off Sam Wilson, played again by Anthony Mackie, has officially taken the mantle of Captain America as a deposit of adamantium has been discovered in the middle of the ocean, which is also where the Eternals had their final battle, and I was wondering how I'm going to work that in, and it looks like there's one of the ways of doing that. And with that he must deal with a more volatile world stage, not really a stretch anymore, or being caught between newly elected President Thunderbolt Ross, played by Harrison Ford after the passing of William Hurt in 2021, and and the group of mercenaries led by the enigmatic Sidewinder, her played by Giancarlo Esposito, all, as you could imagine, does not go smoothly. And I definitely can say that even with the discourse around this movie, especially given how multiple real world events impact its production and storyline, I do at least have skin in this current game, and as the first Avenger was second only to first Iron Man as my favorite standalone movie of Phase 1. The Winter Soldier was my favorite standalone movie of Phase 2. And the third Captain America was my favorite from 2016. 9 years ago, almost 10, I stand by that. That it is tonally closer in style and tone to the second and third films than the first, and while I may not have enjoyed it as much of those couple ones, it is still have a lot to enjoy in it. I'm unfamiliar with director Julius Ona as with a lot of the other crew, but it definitely he does plenty justify his existence, and while not the best installment of the franchise, I have mentioned before that it's reached a similar point in its history, a albeit in way less time than some franchises such as 007 or Godzilla, where it has a core dedicated fan base that's willing to stand by them no matter what, and where the quality has ranged from high highs to low lows to rich, creamy middles. And the film definitely is interesting how it deals with the concept of legacy, which is like the one where you sum up this film. Like I tried to find one word or phrase to sum up my feelings of something, and I'd say that legacy is one key one. Like not just in terms of Sam being like a legacy character, or with Cap not being a title other than one person, and that is basically one arc. Even with some of the terminology has gotten a bit more charged in recent months. Sam Wilson is not Steve Rogers, but I would also add an addendum. That's okay. Hey, even though he's offered a chance to take the same super serum that Cap and that Rogers and Bucky used. Whose heal plate declines. Hines using most of the technology as well as his Air Force training. And I mean, he's also got a new partner, her Joaquin Torres, played by Danny Ramirez. Again, actor I'm not the most familiar with, but he definitely seems like a nice kid, and I definitely am glad that Esposito is in this movie. It's not his best villain role, but it is. He definitely owns the role like you expect any time. He had definitely his. It's one of a few things I can say is enhanced by his presence, and again, I get why they changed the backstory of the villains here. I mean, they were already planning on doing this before things got more heated in the Mideast. I mean, as it just further compounded the decision, and it also explains why several of his associates, who I will not be spoiling here, are choosing to go with their given name rather than their code name, because even that aspect from the comics has been more heavily scrutinized. I mean, I will say that this is one instance where the whole comic book movies don't use code names trope is actually somewhat justified here. If you've seen the spoiler brackets, my spoiler brackets I put up in the title, I might as well get into like the worst kept secret of this film. That on top of being like the fourth main Captain America movie, this is also functionally something like a stealth sequel to the '08 Incredible Hulk film. Not just in the usage of Ross being the president and him becoming the Red Hulk through being dosed with radiation and to treat his heart condition, but also in the fact that they'd also brought back Liv Tyler as his daughter in a bit part, and officially especially since the first time he's appeared since like comic book tie into the first Avengers, it was made him the leader. They don't know if I call him that, but that is functionally the role he plays. And definitely makes sense that he be pulling more strings, and of course he's another actor among many who's been at this for a long time. I'm being able to balance his work with more small scale directors such as the Coen brothers, those two bare-wetted temples like this. I mean, and I will say the story does have interesting implications for how they're going to bring in more characters on the Fox timeline, since the adamantium, they're both connected to the X-Men, obviously, but also to Deadpool, the Fantastic Four, and a whole slew of others. And let's just say, given how, I won't say go into specifics, but Japan is one of the countries making a play for the adamantium deposits, that they might find a way to bring this in the Silver Samurai from the Fox timeline, albeit it probably won't be the exact same variant, but they do establish as at least enough that you can make a character a title other than one person, which I'll also discuss in my coming attractions, man. And I mean, and also, not only does this have interesting implications for both the franchise and the genre, but also makes this whole movie an interesting case study in the ebbs and flows of comic book cinema. over that time I've been doing this alone because like I actually joined when when this when YouTube in the same year first Iron Man was about to come out. I started uploading to it when this franchise was still in phase one, and so like like I maintained before, or it may not be hitting as many consistent highs as they once had, but I would still argue that at like I did with Phase 4, that Phase 5 and Multiverse Saga as a whole are necessary experiments. I mean, won't be the only time I talk about this, about something I enjoy, but hey, sometimes you had to mess around and find out. And even though I admit the story's not as compelling as the second or third films, let alone the political thrillers it aims to emulate, it is anchored by its cast, and I did have. I also want to make entirely clear that Ross, especially as Red Hulk, is not the nicest character in the comics either. But the way the movie handled him, admittedly, surprised me a bit, and that's kind of someone who's never been the hugest fan and of Ross's as Ross becoming that character. I mean, and but as I definitely stressed with the other antagonists, which in the comics were actually connected to the infamous Mossad, and, they are definitely very good at changing things in a way that makes sense to story trying to tell. I mean, I will at least say I'll have an easier time adjusting to Downey as Doom than Toby Kebbell, or, or going from playing Counter-Strike, listening to classical music, and looking and like someone ordered Gozer from Timu, who I mean, yeah. And anyway, I will even though it's not my favorite installment, I definitely understand why I so far it's proven to be a hit, coming in at the higher end of estimates for the 3 and 4 day, having raked in about $88 million so far. This is a plum weekend, admittedly. I mean, see it on a day off, take your kids, take your date if you have one. I will definitely give it a spangly 4 stars out of 5 or 3 stars out of 4. And now, on to some coming attractions. Okay, so going in release order to keep things as objective as I can. The Amateur, which is a remake of a film from 1981 I have not seen, which is based on a novel I have not read. Though I do admit Rami Malek is a great actor, it's not the one that actually surprises me that it's getting a theatrical release, which a lot of it elements much like this accounted sequel that Warner's is still pushing forward with, even though both the lead and the director of the previous installment are seeking other projects. And to me, it looks something like something that I expect to see straight to VOD, which, and it's not doesn't really have the same unintentional humor that something like Flight Rest did at either, like how, and even though I don't have any major plans to color that one either, I will simply state that it is kind of another instance like where sometimes after an actor makes a more prestigious film, they go for something a bit lighter, but even by that metric, this looks decidedly meh, so to speak. And now we're getting into the really juicy stuff with the blockbuster season coming back a rapid clip, it seems this summer, leading off May 2nd with Thunderbolts, we also now know what the asterisk functionally means. On top of official posters explaining it, it's more or less what I figured. I mean, if the Suicide Squad is like DC's answer to Guardians of the Galaxy, then the Thunderbolts are very much like Marvel's answer to the Suicide Squad, where they're not role models like the Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, especially given the presence of the U.S. agent, and someone I'm staying with had not yet seen Back on the Soldiers. They had to binge the show before, or most of it before we went, and I definitely watched as it came out, and you don't really forget a thing like bashing someone's head with a shield, and I am really liking a lot of elements there. I mean, the way the characters play off each other, the fact that they're able to make interesting characters of arguably lesser well known ones in their canon. I wouldn't even object to seeing them in a future Marvel vs. Capcom game, personally. Hey. And also, even like the quasi trailer core mix of Stark's Nothing Gonna Stop Us Now. Oh, and let's just say that even before they started regaining access to characters that were previously in the hands of rival studios, they have been very good about making a lot out of characters that more casual audiences might not recognize. I mean, and as for what might happen to this version of Taskmaster, who's got a new costume, whom I do not know. Oh, they have dropped hints that they are going to find a way to bring in the actual Anthony Masters. They just have not said how it will be or who's going to be playing him. But I will say this. Yes, I mean, I do enjoy seeing little things like not only how they can still play off each other after all these years, but also little details like Bucky apparently cleaning his robotic arm in the dishwasher. Or, I mean, I guess as when you have it made of vibranium, it can stand up to who stains the same way that your dishes could. I mean, I think I already have an easy tie-in deal right there. I mean, like how the cross promotion with this movie have done with everything from McDonald's to farmers, to American Family to even Tide. I mean, perfect at getting super stains out of your colors and your whites. Okay, so July 2nd, in Jurassic World Rebirth, now that the storyline of the previous trilogy and 30 odd years stories is done, a new era for the franchise set to begin under director Gareth Edwards, and even though it's familiar iconography from the other movies, albeit remixed in unique ways, is already. I'm liking that they're actually giving like a new angle to this, where a group is assigned to retrieve DNA samples from the former park, and not only does it have elements of both a horror story and a heist film, like basically imagine Ocean's 11, and albeit with dinosaurs in it, so you not to fall off the mark. It's also dealing with concepts that from Crichton's books they wanted to include on film, but they couldn't. I mean, especially in regards to like the more gene-spliced dinosaurs, is that they were limited by technology at their time, and I definitely have a pretty good eye for what's paleontologically accurate and also what is clearly exaggerated for cinematic effect. I mean, I'm aware of a balance between the two. Like, In fact, some of these ones basically have become like unofficial Predator movies in terms like how a lot of people will say like the I-Rex was more or less like Dinosaurs of Yalta. I mean, the infrared, and the genetic enhancements, and also just the way it could adapt. I mean, just how it could get smart enough to wonder why it had to be in captivity. I mean, and also, I still think there should be some nice thrills, and even though the series we've quoted over the years, because it's still coming in a sizable fan base, and they're definitely going to keep milking those dinosaurs all they're worth. I mean, I wouldn't even be against if they made like a new Lego game in the scale of Skywalker Saga. One civil life is a good thing, by the way. Hey, so yeah, I'll definitely be going. I mean, as I have been talking about this in capacity for nearly 10 years now. Oh, Falls fails. Hills, I don't know about this Meat Man, but I can't imagine being worse than Rated Part 3. I really can't. July 11th, Superman. And I've talked about this before, but this is my first time seeing this preview on the big screen, yeah, I'd say, and it looks like it'll be impressive. Even though I'm not sure we'll get an IMAX one, because my theater upgraded everything, their seating, their sound setup, their picture setup, so they'll be ready for it. I mean, they couldn't get the last reboot right away because they had to have their stuff digitized. I mean, but still, oh, much like how the last continuity began with the reboot of Superman, this one is also. Oh, and it's only again an interesting case study about how certain characters and stories can be invented over time. The last reboot is notable for what it changed. This one is notable for what it's bringing back. I mean, yes, it's still going to be very much like the original one from the 70s. At its core, a serious story, treating serious moments as such, but it's also not going to be afraid to embrace some more absurd elements that you've seen like the Gold and Silver Age storylines. It's where you have him fighting, in basically standing in for Godzilla, and also not just having big names like Lois Lane, Lex Luthor represented, but also ones that aren't as well known to more casual audience like Mr. Terrific, Hawkgirl, or the Guy Gardner Green Lantern. You know what I mean? I'm actually kind of glad, especially he's going to be in it because on top of working with James quite a bit, that he was actually a common fan cast for the Hal Jordan variant, and at point someone actually recut a trailer with him in it, which is actually did a pretty good job with it, I'd say. And all things considered, I'm definitely going not only be going, but also talking about not only James's own Super, as well as the last film I have not yet reviewed, the live action ones, being the Richard Donner Cut the second movie. It's gonna be good. Last, and definitely not least, Fantastic Four, or First Steps, July 25th, and definitely can say, even though the track record of 4 has been uneven to put it mildly, they might finally have cracked it with this one. And I still have spoken quite highly of the fact that a lot of it's built around an idea that Peyton Reed previously pitched. And it reminds me a lot of his pitch anyway, where they keep in the 60s setting, and really putting like the family in Marvel's first family, where. And they also definitely, I still maintain that a lot of works we willing to embrace, especially the comic book aspects and the source material that's around, in ways that previous installments either couldn't or didn't, if not both. Whereas the last one I just thought was okay, but I understand a lot of people didn't like it, was somewhere in between a more conventional blockbuster as well as a somewhat Cronenbergian body horror film, of all things. But this one, I actually still personally really like Ben Grimm's design. I mean, actually looks almost dead on to someone like the original drawings from the comics. Mix complete with the unibrow, as well as like the like his trench coat and hat, civilian clothes. I mean, I guess he must get them the same store that Clark Kent Ninja Turtles got theirs. I mean, and as I have mentioned before, and I will mention again, I am just so glad that Galactus is not going to be another miasma of space gas. I don't know who John Malkovich is playing, for certain, and but I guess we'll find out soon enough. And definitely know that Max Shackman definitely has experience with work on WandaVision with not only franchise but also for the key elements I'm already noticing, recreating a time place in the world doesn't exist anymore, and creating a fantastic group of superheroes that never existed at all. Well, they even found a way to make the divisive Herbie character work, and I'm not sure about opening nights because I'll be house sitting in before this comes out, but opening weekend, definitely. Plus, we're also still trying to hash out when I'm going to be seeing my father again, and so, yeah, that'll be about it for now. I'm not going to be posting tomorrow, but I will be doing lots of writing, editing, and also most likely going to be trying to record my video essay on Team Player here, which I intend to have ready and out before my Pokemon Day, which is actually next Thursday. And I will be addressing the Pokemon Present stream, him, or whatever ends up being announced then. That'll be all for now. Take care, everyone.